The following video is concerning yet another Rust legacy client I found. In this case, it was in the description of the YouTube video. RustGolden.ru, a legacy 450 megabyte RAR file from 2019, February 16th upload. And it works on Rustuj or Rustuj.cz, but crashed on RustRome and didn't want to load most of the other pages, or servers. Where I found this was at a YouTube video, which I'll link below, that's from 2016, Christmas time on the 8th. How to join a server using a cracked client in Rust Legacy. By the way, these days, if you're not aware of it, even actually on that day, that was the day when they removed it from Steam, that was the thing, is that they removed it from Steam, but people had recently paid for the game, and the only way to play it was to, quote, crack the game sometimes. Because a lot of the servers, you could download the server and the client free, by the way, at that point, wouldn't work properly unless you went ahead and disabled the Steam checks. Let's move on. Anyway, this link to a place called Rust-Golden.ru, which is not available, but you can find it at Web Archive. And it also linked to cloud.mail.ru, public, and then a string of characters, which is the download for this 450 megabyte file, a RAR file, and it's a 2019, February 16th at 1:16 a.m. upload, and it's labeled RustGoldenLegacy.rar. Now, in it, it extracts out to a little over a gigabyte. I'll explain that in a minute. And in it, it has 2014 to 2015 files within Rust bundles, 2014 to 2016, Rust data managed folder, as well as RustProtect 2017 stuck in there. Okay. And then in the Rust main folder, we have 2015 to 2016 files. We have 2015 to 2016 and also in Rust data. And then in the subdirectory Rust data resources, we have all of the files being December 15th, 2015 files. A little over a year old at that point, for the video anyway. And same thing in Rust data, plugins, and also in that one it'll have RustProtect 2018. This may be significant later. Next, you will also notice the newest files are 2017 October 9th folder Rust Vcredist, or redistributable packages for Visual C, 64-bit and 32-bit, along with this and RustProtect, the two copies. This made it just over 1 gigabyte when you extract it out. If you remove them, because you don't actually have to have them, but you have to have RustProtect, I'll bring that up in a minute, you end up with something about the same size as every other copy. So what do you get with this? Well, the side branding, the right side branding, the little, says Rust Legacy, meaning it's acknowledging it's Rust Legacy at the time, 11 March 2015, 4:45 p.m. It doesn't have an auto map, and there aren't any other features like FPS improvements or a menu to enable or disable level of detail or whatever hacks. No extra menus, no nothing. It's a generic copy without a map, auto map added in, which is what was apparently normal at the time, which I still find annoying. That's why I only want to use the ones that have a map in them. And it would have a long pause after every net.connect, a really long one, like not responding, you can't move the window around, even more so than normal, because Rust Legacy, the game, doesn't like it when you meddle with the window when it's collecting anyway, but it also has a slightly extended pause on startup. But it does work, oddly enough, on one type of server it shouldn't. Rustuj.cz, as long as you leave the RustProtect files in, which may be the reason, it'll work on Rustuj.cz's servers, all three of them. It doesn't want to work on literally anything else almost. I mean, I found one other one, but I don't think that really matters. Normally, older versions of Rust Legacy, this one being quote-unquote 2016 and or 2019. Apparently this was a re-upload of the original that was in the video description list or whatever. I'll try to include an archive of it if I find anything. Most of them won't work with the newer version of Rustuj.cz because it gets pissy and sends you to the naughty server that says you're using an incompatible browser. This thing didn't even blink. So it may just be the RustProtect 2018 is all that's needed, or 2017, and that involves another problem. There's two versions of it. One of them in Rust Data plugins, and the other one in Rust Data managed. Is there a conflict? Are they needed that way? Should we update them? Because there's an interesting that happens. Also, I should point out that RAM usage is normal. It starts off at 320 megabytes, something around that, just to show the menu. And then when you're running the game, it's about 1 gigabyte, which is pretty standard. It's not invoking anything new or interesting or exciting. It has a snazzy little pop-up screen when you first launch it, but nothing seems to be added, and in fact, it seems to be missing some things. And again, I tried all the different keys that I could think up, like F5, the letter N, down and up arrows sometimes also invoke extra menus. Nothing. It did come with the grass enabled by default, but that just slowed it down like normal, so I turned it off. Now, under Rust Golden Legacy Steam API.dll, you find it saying the standard argument or complaint win.trojan.ramnet or ramnet dash and then some number, in this case 6374, which is a game hack. It's not a virus, but game developer companies, especially game distro companies, decided to demand that this be declared a virus. It's safe-ish, but it still flags as a virus. And then, much to my surprise, for whatever reason, the launcher it includes, which is just LauncherRust.exe, shows up as Win Trojan Agent 31 9001. It's over 9,000. This shows up as a legit virus that grabs data and messes with things. So as soon as I detected that, I just simply renamed it or erased it. Renaming it, if you do it right, will work just fine, but you get the idea. So, what servers did I try it on? Well, I tried it on Vanilla, Battlefield, and Arena Rustuj, and it worked fine. It shouldn't have. Again, I have copies of legit versions of the game that are, old, like as old as this, that won't work on Rustuj because they changed how they do things. Apparently, it's something that this one includes, or it's simply RustProtect. Rustuj.cz doesn't explain that it's one thing or another. I'm suspecting now that if you add RustProtect, one of the versions, it works fine. So anyway, it worked fine with that one. Going to Crimson Rust Fun, redirected to the no-no server, like I thought it would do with Rustuj, as unsupported server. Server name unsupported. I'd like to point out that these unsupported servers, really, at this point, I want to run some sort of game hack so I can run around on them, because it's a blank server with nothing on it. I want to see what else they removed to make it run faster. Just because. I'd like to find out how that's done. But it redirects based on your version number or something. Now, on the others like RustLeak, both versions of it, and MachoCraft, it just says incompatible. That doesn't happen if you run RustLeak, because all of them seem to run under RustLeak this week. And again, unlike Crimson Rust, which I was preferring, it doesn't require an update to work on most or all of the servers as of today. That could change. But yeah, RustLeak didn't work. It just says incompatible, which is what's normal. It shouldn't just fucking crash, but I'll get to that in a minute. RustDark, I found 2 links for it. Both of them are listed as failed to connect. I think it's just because they're just not working. This is the one that's advertised, I want to say, on RustLegacy.eu's page where they show you the list of servers. It never lists RustDark, and it has a link or, a banner below, but it doesn't go anywhere. So I found 2 IP addresses that are supposed to be RustDark. It wasn't able to resolve RustRelics host, big surprise. And the AK-47 in Cars version of modded CrimsonRust.eu at 28030 IP address says the server's offline for now. I think it's for the entire time in memorial till the heat death of the universe. P.S. If anybody knows how to get a hold of whatever client that thing wants, I'd love to have it. I know they don't have it on the crimsonrust.eu page for some reason. Now, if I try to go to Rust Rome, this full-on Unity game engine crashed with all the trimmings. You know, the screen, would you like all these log files? No. Well, here they are anyway. Go to hell. And, of course, this is after it ran overtly in the dialog, RustProtect.dll, one of them. I don't know which one did it. But it almost, but not quite, ran Rust Rome, meaning Rustuj gives a strong indication that really what it's looking for is something a lot like RustProtect or the DLL, or maybe just having it integrated somehow in other files. Oddly enough, this brings up Campfire DLL, which seems to be invoked every once in a while. But Rust Rome definitively almost worked. It came to the screen, it started working, it brought me up, and I could see stuff, and then, bam, crash. After that, wouldn't even invoke it. I guess I might have been vac banned. I don't know. Now, the original Russian instructions redone poorly in English by me and Google's Translate and God only knows what else. AI. Please read the document carefully. After downloading this client, extract it to a separate folder, calling it whatever you like in English, to the root drive, preferably of C and D, and you can use numbers and letters. Right-click the Rust Launcher shortcut and run as administrator. In the field, you write in your nickname, and in English only, and you can use numbers. Click and save, and then click once on the square opposite the server you want to play, and it lists the two of them, which are both apparently dead as of now, as far as I can tell, for their deathmatch and their golden server. And then in the lower corner launch of the launcher, click the Start button. Now, I want to point out that the first part where you're putting in your English name and such is also used by Rust Relic and Rust Rome in their launchers, if they had one. I had one version of them that had it and then didn't have and then had again a launcher. The launcher does the same work as something that's called change nick or change name, which is also included in the directory, so you don't need to run this. And again, it's the one that probably has a virus. After completing these manipulations, you will successfully log onto the server and play without lag or crashes. That I have to laugh at, because one of them really did crash. That says more, I think, about Rust Rome being really super pissy than anything else. But literally every other server just about wouldn't load. I think I found one generic old school server that would let me run it, but it complained a bit, and then it just exited, so okay. Then it has instructions on installing Vcredist, the redistributable package for Visual C, for 64 and 32-bit version. And it had a link to an archive that's at cloudmail.ru, public yada yada. It's dead. But it includes a copy of it, which may be useful, but even though no virus was found or detected or signatures could be there, I still don't want to run it because I don't need to. Copy the link into your browser bar, and then it gives you instructions on how to download it. After installing the driver, you can launch the client with the game. Anyway, let's go on. That's all. Have a nice game. Send feedback, and then it signs it with Rust-Golden.ru, the URL, which is dead. There's an archive of it again. Conclusion, not going to run it anymore. I'm not going to use it. The game has issues with almost every browser, almost every server. On the one or two of them it can get on, but has a problem with it, just goes to the naughty server that says you're not using an updated version, naughty. Or it just goes ahead and run Rustuj.cz, but I don't have any of the features I need to be happy. It doesn't add anything. It is kind of useful in that I found out that it may just be that I need to use a copy of RustProtect that will work on all the servers, because maybe that's what's being invoked. I'll have to look up that subject. I've never really worried about it. Some of them do and some of them don't come with it, but I didn't think it was an actual requirement for any of them. A lot of them use a weird IP address where it has an extra colon and a character afterwards. Anyway, so that's a review of RustGolden.ru's version of Rust Legacy, and yeah, I don't recommend it just because it is a little more trouble than it's worth. Bye.